This is the first MIGNEX Collaboration video, which supplements email and video conferences as a tool for internal communication. MIGNEX will produce close to 100 publications, so we spent a lot of time on the foundations, such as workflows, guidelines, templates, and integration with the website. It's gone well, and we're all set to start working on publications that are seen and used and which make a difference. We have 5 main publication series in the project. The case study briefs, policy briefs, and MIGNEX reports all come later on. They will be written by all of us, the researchers, but the actual production is managed by the communication staff at ODI. MIGNEX Handbook chapters and MIGNEX background papers are different. They're not just output or publications, they're also tools in the research process, right from the beginning. Handbook chapter 5 describes them both in greater detail. They should have a professional appearance like all MIGNEX publications, but they should also be flexible living documents. So they're not sent off for typesetting, they're produced directly by us in Word. And even though most of us use Word on a daily basis, the template for these publications has features that might be unfamiliar. This video gives you an introduction to using the template. Handbook chapter 5 contains more detailed information and step-by-step instructions. So when you open the template, you'll see that it contains 6 pages with the cover and the preliminary matter, and some sample tables and figures at the end. And on the 4th page, there are headings, and there is space for the stand first and the 3 key takeaways that you can write towards the end of the writing process. The most important aspect of using the template is to use styles, not just for headings, but for every paragraph in the document. So here I want to start writing the introduction, and I see on the style gallery that body is selected, which is correct because I want to write a regular paragraph of body text. Now I want to follow up with the bullet list. So then I select bullet from the style gallery, and I have my first bullet point. Then I write, for instance, migration, transnationalism, and remittances. And after those 3 points, I want to go back to a regular body paragraph. Then I click body again, and I'm back to writing another regular paragraph of text. I can also go back to my bullet list and change it to a numbered list. So then I select it, and I choose number from the style gallery. Now, if you have several numbered lists in the same document, Word might understand them as one continuous list. So if I start again here, you see that I get the number 4 rather than restarting at 1, which is what I wanted. But then you can just right-click and say restart at 1 to restart at 1 if that's what you want. Now I don't want another numbered list, I want to add an equation. Then I select the style code and write my equation. This is a style that can be used not just for equations, which we might not have so many of, but also for things like fragments of code or file names or things that you want to stand out from the regular paragraphs of text. If you're quoting, say, from a secondary source or from an interview, and the quote is longer than about 40 words, then you use the quote style, which gives you a block quote of text. So if I change this to a paragraph, it's easier to see. Then you get a paragraph like this, and afterwards, Word automatically reverts to body for writing another regular paragraph of body text. Whenever you want to go back to body, if it doesn't happen automatically, or if you want to change a paragraph to body, you can also use the shortcut Alt and B. So here I place my cursor in the block quote, and I press Alt B, and it changes to body. That's the one shortcut that's been added to the template, since you'll often need to go back to body. Now say that I have a series of paragraphs that each is a definition of something or describes a specific data set or something that is almost like a list, but it's in paragraphs. Then I can use the style called definition to highlight the beginning of each paragraph, like this. Right at the end of the template, you'll see the reference list with some examples, and the references are all formatted in the references style. If you use EndNote for managing your references and EndNote produces its automatic list of references, it will look completely different. And then you just have to select it and apply the references style from the style gallery. You'll see that I have a little window up here that shows which style the paragraph that I'm in is using. So when I'm in a body style, it shows body. If I click here, it shows number. If I click here, it shows heading 2, and so on. I find that really useful so that I always know which style is applied, even if it's not obvious from the formatting itself. I find that really useful so that I always know which style is applied. And the handbook chapter explains how you can add that little window to your so-called quick access toolbar at the top of the window. So in short, you always use the style gallery to select the type of paragraph that you want. You should never start formatting the text manually by changing the alignment or using bullets or numbers from here or changing the color or the font style or anything like that. The only button that you might be needing from over here is italics, because you might want to emphasize a word, or maybe it's a foreign word and then you want to apply italics. But anything else over here, you should not be using. Use the style gallery instead so that the formatting remains consistent and correct. I mentioned that it's best to write directly into the template from the outset, but of course you might have to copy some text from another source. So how do you do that without messing up the formatting? The best way is to not paste it the way you normally would, but to right-click and select Keep Text Only. Then the text that you copied is pasted without any formatting from the source. Here you see that it's just like any other paragraph of body text, and of course you can change it to say quote if it's a quote that you copied. Especially if you're writing together with others, it might be useful to indicate content that's yet to be written. So say that I want another paragraph here with details about the survey methodology. I can write that and I can set it in the comment style, which looks like this. So it clearly stands out from everything else and it's clear that it's a meta comment on the writing process. Of course, we also use the built-in comments functions for discussions about the text. So I could say something about the paragraph that's been written above, for instance. But having the blue comments in the text helps a little bit to keep an overview of the content that's already in place and what's still missing. In the case of MIGNEX handbook chapters, it might even be that something has to be added in a later version of the chapter, after the first version has been published and submitted to the European Commission. So here I write what needs to be added, by whom and when, and I use the follow-up style to indicate that this is a follow-up point. This is okay to leave in the version that will be published, as long as it says exactly what will be added, whom, by whom, and preferably when. So in this case, in conjunction with MIGNEX Handbooks Chapter 7. So the blue comments all have to go before you publish, whereas these follow-up points can remain to indicate what will come in a later version. Apart from styles, the other thing that requires attention is the management of tables, figures, and text boxes in the template. To make it easier, we have included samples at the end of the template that you can copy and paste to use as a basis. So now I paste the sample figure from the end of the template, which looks like this. And it includes the source in the right style, the caption in the right style, and even the figure itself is in a style called figure, which includes the correct amount of spacing above and below. So to change it to the picture that I actually want to insert, I just select it and right click and go to change picture and then select the one that I want from my files. And I add the correct title, say Research Area 1. And then I want a second figure as well, showing Research Area 2. So I just paste the sample here as well, and I write Research Area 2. Now the thing with these captions is that they're not just in the right style, but they include automatic numbering. You don't see the correct numbers right away because it's I just pasted the same sample in both cases. But if I close and reopen the document, or if I select the text and press F9, then it's updated. It becomes figure 2. And if I later were to insert another figure earlier on, then this would become figure 2 and this would become figure 3. Now you'll want to refer to every figure and table and box in the text. And then there's a special procedure for that as well. Say that I want the reference to be in brackets at the end of this paragraph. I open the brackets and I go to References, Cross-Reference, and then what do I want to refer to? Well, I want to refer to a figure, but I could also have selected table, for instance, if I wanted to refer to a table. And here I see the figures. Figure 1 is Research Area 1, Figure 2 Research Area 2, and this is the sample figure at the end of the template. So here I want to refer to Research Area 2, the second figure, so I select that one. And then what do I want to insert? Not the full caption, just the label and the number. So I wanted to say figure 2, only label and number. Okay. And then I close the brackets. Now what happens if at some point I delete this figure, then you don't see the changes at once. But if I select everything and press F9, then the figure itself changes to figure 1 and the reference as well changes to figure 1. You see that on my screen, the special text. Oh. You see that on my screen, the reference and the automatic number has a gray shading underneath. That makes it much easier to see what is just any other regular text and what is special text that's generated by a code. In the handbook chapter, you'll find the instructions to show this shading, which really makes it a lot easier to use these more advanced features of Word. You'll see the same type of shading earlier on in the document as well, like here on the title page. The title has shading because this is automatically collected from the cover. After you insert the right title on the cover, then this will show the exact same text. In the same way as, for instance, the table of content is generated from all the headings. And if you use EndNote to manage references, then all your EndNote references will also have the gray shading so that you can see which references are just entered manually and which are attached to EndNote. Say that I want a table after my figure. So I copy and paste from the sample at the end of the template, and I paste the table like this. When I start writing, I see that the correct styles have already been applied to the top row and to the first column. Depending on the content of your cells, you can use different styles to make them look good. So the default format is the TB right, the table right aligned, which looks good for big numbers like these, but not so good, for instance, for numbers that have asterisks or footnote indicators behind them, or for text. So here I choose TB decimal, and you can see that they align nicely on the decimal point. And for these, I select TB text, which makes them align to the left. And the vertical lines here won't show on the PDF or in print, so it's fine that it goes all the way to the edge of the cell. Of course, it's likely that you'll need more or fewer rows or columns in your table than the sample table contains. So then under Table Tools and Layout, you can insert additional rows or delete rows or columns or insert columns. If you change the number of columns, then, for instance, now I inserted a column and the table becomes too wide, or if I delete one of the existing columns, the table becomes too narrow. We want it to fit the size of the column. So then you go to Table Properties and you set the preferred width of the table to 13 centimeters if it's a background paper and 16 centimeters if it's a handbook chapter, and then it realigns to fit. Of course, some adjustments will be needed to the tables to make it fit your needs, but at least the templates. Of course, some adjustments will be needed to make the table fit your needs, but at least the template provides a starting point for professional looking and reasonably streamlined tables in all our publications. Of course, the table might need to be tweaked to fit your specific needs, but at least the template provides a starting point for something that's reasonably consistent and professional looking. The handbook chapter also explains how you can copy and paste table cells from elsewhere and apply the Of course, the table might need to be tweaked to fit your specific needs. And the handbook chapter also explains how you can copy and paste table cells or table information from another document or another application, and then format it to look like the table in the template. Prio and ODI work closely together on the communications and publication strategy. ODI is the primary contact point for anything communications related. But if you have comments or questions specifically about the handbook chapters and background papers, either on the substance or the technicalities of the template, you can contact me directly.